Broadchurch. Luke, have you caught up with Broadchurch? Ep 2?
I have.
S3 Ep 2. This week we had more of the same, I suppose. They were investigating Trish's rape a little bit more. You got to meet like some of the suspects. Trish's ex-husband, played by Charlie Higson. For me, one of the highlights of this episode, Charlie Higson. There was the sort of taxi driver who knew Trish. There was the very surly owner of the bait shop, the sort of fishing.
Oh, God's sake.
Oh, God,
Shop.
yeah.
And obviously you got more about Lenny Henry and Sarah Parish's husband. The problem I have with this, and I said this to Luke, I was talking about this yesterday because you hadn't seen the episode at the time, is that basically this being a rape rather than a murder. Say in the first series of Broadchurch, we knew it was like an accidental murder, so there was a chance that anybody in that town could be a murderer, but it wasn't like they were evil. Whereas in this, you're dealing with a premeditated sexual crime. All of the men that they interview have to look slightly dodgy and slightly sleazy, and it is just gets a bit repetitive.
And it is very much
these dodgy men. They have to sort of squirm a bit on screen, have to look a bit dodgy because you've got to suspect them all of this premeditated crime. Whereas with the first series, it wasn't premeditated, but the fact that they have to build up a number of suspects for a sexual crime in the first place is a bit uneasy, and the way that they've obviously directed all these actors to look is the same way, slightly shifty, slightly.
And then in these
and it
early
becomes
episodes,
comical in a funny way.
It does, especially when you've got Charlie Higson and Lenny Henry as two of the suspects.
Does this way of doing it make you think you might not be as disappointed because they're painting all the characters as having the ability or the character that might have done this?
My problem is because it's a rape, which, as we said last week, is something very personal and makes me feel quite uncomfortable, then whoever perpetrated it, whoever the rapist is...
And the fact it's premeditated as well.
Whoever the rapist is, when we get to episode 7 or 8 and we find out who the rapist is, there's not going to be this hallelujah moment. There's going to be, I was hoping it wouldn't be him, or... Not because I'd be disappointed with the way the story's gone, but because you don't want a nice character to have done this. You want an evil person to have done it. And either way, I don't know how invested I am.
Elsewhere, the Broadchurch Echo is closing down and nobody's visiting the church.
Oh, God. See, I think Chris Chibnall thinks he's writing The Wire. And what he's actually writing...
I do think...
The Coast.
The Echo was a big part of the plot in the first series, wasn't it? You know, the fact that you had the journalist that revealed the story.
Bloody Twitter.
I wonder whether you're just trying to keep those things familiar and they're trying to create things. I mean, obviously, local newspapers are folding and, things like that. It's topical.
I don't know. I just think he thinks he's writing a different story than he... I mean, for some reason, I don't know why, but when we watched the second episode, we were eating dinner. We're doing that common people thing of eating dinner on our laps, in front of the telly, catching up on Broadchurch, because I knew we were talking about it today. And for some reason, the sound wasn't great, and we had the subtitles on. You can't help, when you've got subtitles on, whether it's in English or whatever language, to read the subtitles as you go. You can't help not to. A lot of the dialogue was really crap. There was bits in those newspaper things where she's going, "Oh, I don't think so, Petal," or "I don't think so, darling," and I just think nobody talks like that, and I don't think we don't need any of those silly...
A Maggie subplot. We don't need a Maggie subplot, just generally.
We don't need... What Chris Chibnall needs to do, and he has done it this series to give him his due, he needs to focus on Olivia Colman and David Tennant as much as he can.
One area of praise would be Georgina Campbell, who I thought was good, and I liked her interactions with Olivia Colman, the sort of, she was quite snide towards her, and,
I liked that reveal at the end that she's Lenny Henry's daughter.
Georgina Campbell is, although she's giving a good performance, everybody apart from Olivia Colman and David Tennant, and even them to a point, they're so angry. Like,
don't forget, this is now a small village that has gone through a murder and a trial that didn't convict the murderer. You're talking about a town that's probably more hardened now towards the police because of that. So I think some of that is understandable. I agree they don't do a good job of explaining that, It did need, it was me that had to interpret that. But I
Yeah.
think you can understand the reticent to kind of help people. Charlie Higston's character refused the DNA test,
I like
which I
that.
thought was very
like
good.
that.
Well, yeah, because they said it's voluntary, and he went, "Well, I don't trust the police having my information."
It becomes very samey. It becomes very, you're watching the same scene over and over again.
My favourite bits are still anything with Olivia Colman. Pretty much, there was a really sort of believable scene between her and Jodie Whittaker where they talk about, I found my mum's vibrator and she told me it was
with
a
the eating
whisk.
chips in the.
She told me it was a whisk. I love that line. But apart from that, I
still think Julie Hesmontal is really good in this, and I think her character is developing. The further she moves away from the sexual assault, and she becomes more like she would have been beforehand, you're seeing how good a character actress she is.
I mean, I will watch this to the end out of completistisms, but I don't
Loyalty,
know how.
almost.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't watch it on Monday night because we were doing things. I watched it on Tuesday because I knew we were talking today. Today's Wednesday, by the way, people. I was not at all sort of going, oh, yes, it's Monday, it's Broadchurch. I didn't feel like that.
I didn't watch it on Monday night. I have to say, I didn't feel compelled to watch it at Monday at 9.
I watched it on Friday.
There you are.
Rebel. So you were more interested. You were more compelled than any of us.
You TV insider, you.